Hey, what do you say there? All red and gold faithful. I'm This is a special podcast. I was actually just going to do a live feed, but I might as well make it into a podcast. So I'm not going to dedicate this podcast to yesterday's loss just yet. That'll come more during the week. What this is basically based off of is the fact that what I'm seeing after yesterday's loss is an influx of a lot of fans, I would say, or a lot of people who call themselves fans. I don't know how well in depth you follow the team. I don't know if you're just a 49er fan by whatever. I don't know if you actually spend time watching the team. I don't know if you have spent time watching the team. I don't know if you just became a fan over the last year or the last couple of years and whatnot. But what I can say is that it's been a very interesting 24 hours. I guess it's been so far. I think so. It's been really strange to see the fallout from yesterday's loss. In case you are living on another planet, they did lose yesterday. I don't know if 49er fans live on another, side of the world, but it wouldn't matter. They lost. And like I said, I don't really want to get into that with all the nuts and bolts and stats and analytics. That'll be later on this week. I like to break down each game by itself, looking at some stats, looking at other things. And what I think is key here is the fact that we have to remember. Obviously, you have to look at this season for what it is so far, right? You can't. It's a singular thing, I want to say, and therefore, I guess at times you can look at the past and whatnot, but you have to look at this season as it is. It's one season, right? That's all it is. We can't compare last year to this year. We can't compare 2 years ago to this year. We can't do any of that. What I'm seeing is a lot of people shitting on Coach Shanny. Okay? What I'm seeing is a lot of people shitting on him as a play caller, him as a coach. Look, everybody's opinion is what it is. That's just the way it is. Let's just keep it simple. Obviously, we have lost 3 games this year that we shouldn't have lost. I go by what the great Bill Parcells says. Your record is what you are what your record says it is, right? At the same time, if you look at it in a way of us giving the game over to them, it's been 3 times. 3 divisional teams it's happened. Should have lost the Kansas City game, should have lost the Minnesota game. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. We deserve to lose those games. Those 3 losses, including yesterday's, those could have been wins. But I don't understand the fallout and the finger pointed at Shanny. Now, I will say this to be objective and not biased, because I'm a big Shanny fan, always have been. I'm a big fan of his father's. I think his father was an absolute offensive-minded genius somewhere under the great Bill Walsh, somewhere along with all those other great coaches, because I believe the stat was now, I forgot, a big 80% of the current coaches in the NFL come from the Shanahan family tree. In fact, how many coaches as we speak come from the Shanahan family tree? Obviously, Kyle, right? Green Bay, right? Raheem Morris, Atlanta. Miami, Mike McDaniel, right? So there's a large amount of guys that come from the Shanahan family tree. Now, like I said before, I'm not going to compare last year to this year. I'm not going to compare 2 years ago to this year. But let's face it. You look at the analytics. I just spent a good amount of time looking at the analytics. Oh, Mard 5761 wants to jump in. That'd be cool. I always like a live. I always like having somebody on. Why not, man? It's always cool. Yeah. Hey, man, what's doing?
Hey, how's it going?
What's doing, brother? How's everything?
Oh, it's all good. I'm still recovering from yesterday.
You and me both, dude. I spent all day long trying to figure out where it went wrong at what part. And I don't know. You got any input?
You know what? Here's my little bit of input.
Right.
I mean, everybody wants Shanny gone, and as upset as I was, you got to look at realistically. But the only thing is, why do we use McCaffrey so much? We got Garando, and we have Jordan Mason. Mason was like second or third in the league. Now he's I just looked. I was like, how far down has he dropped? He's 11th.
Yeah.
In the league now.
And he's got over 700 yards.
Yeah, and I mean, he was doing very well, and now all of a sudden, I know Christian's a good player, and he's a great player, but, you risk really hurting him if you keep using him just because he's good to go. That don't mean you wear him out in 2 games.
I agree, man. That's my... Look, I'm a big Shanny fan. I can't get over, like, the amount of people calling for his head. I'm like, what are you talking about, calling for his head? But to be fair, like what you just said is 100% right. I don't understand why you're not using Mason. You're not using Gary Endo. You're not throwing the ball to Juice at all, especially when you don't have Kittle yesterday.
And then too, they were saying, Ricky, he's not getting open. But you know what? Instead of using Debo as that jet sweep or whatever that.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Ricky? Ricky's probably a step and a half faster, 2 steps than Debo, or use Garando use Debo as a decoy and give it to Garando.
Yeah, where was Ricky yesterday? Right, where was Ricky? You didn't even hear about him yesterday.
I think he only came in for a couple plays. I don't even remember seeing him.
Me neither.
And they said that he wasn't getting open, so I'm like, I don't know. It's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get that. Look, one thing I could think of, like, yeah, they should have ran the ball more. That I agree with. But also, in crunch time, before they gave the ball back to Seattle, I would have liked to have seen something that Jerry Rice just posted about, like something that stomped on Seattle's throat, that put the nail in the coffin. And you left it kind of open, and the defense was tired. Like, obviously not having Bosa kills you.
Oh, yeah.
But they were shot. They were shot.
And you know what? Gross Matos had a sack.
Yeah.
And they were saying that he was tired. But, I mean, it's his first game back. What do you expect him? He's not going to be all world in one game.
No.
I think he'll be better against Green Bay. I hope they play him more. I hope he's better,
Yeah.
They're going to need him. They're going to need all, this is what you call a game is all hands on deck, because we go to, what's his name, that guy, Dave Lombardi was talking a little while ago. I watched him. And he says, I don't know if I got to look up when the 49ers were 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't even remember them ever being that, going this deep into the year. So, I mean, you don't want to be that. 6 and 5, we got room to work. Still, we gotta keep playing. But, we got to first do Green Bay and then go Buffalo's next, and that's worse than Green Bay.
I'm trying not even to think about that one, man. I don't want to think about that one.
I mean, you know what? They're doable, but it's going to be all hands on deck. Everybody's got to give their, that's what they're getting paid for. You would think, right?
Yeah, man. Look, you know what? I think, like, going into yesterday's week, everybody, obviously sees it going through Kansas City, which is fine. But to be fair, like as great of a team as they are, as great of an organization, this has not, and again, it doesn't mean too much because we know if it comes to the playoffs, they're going to turn it up. But like in terms of just like the way they're playing, we in that first half against them, we were beating them. We sacked him twice. We picked him. We recovered from him. Every reason to beat them. And then you saw Denver almost knocked them off last week. And then you saw who knocked them off yesterday? Buffalo. So the team that scares me most is Detroit.
Oh yeah, but you know what? We don't even want to trust that. We got to play them down the road. We got to look at Sunday and then go from there. One step at a time.
Exactly, man. I think Green Bay is beatable too. Green Bay is beatable.
Oh, they you know what? That goofy coach left 5 points on the board.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because I was watching it. Well, I'm about 40 miles south of Chicago.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at. I'm in a rural area, and I'm not a Bears fan. Never been a Bears fan. But as I've gotten older, I like to look at different quarterbacks. And that kid Williams is a good quarterback, but you put him on a team with a better offensive line, or put him on the Niners team, and I bet you he wouldn't be like he is now.
Yeah,
put him on a better team, but his offensive line is pathetic.
He's running for his life, man.
Yeah,
running for his life.
They made some plays against Green Bay. That's why Green Bay does not scare me.
No, me neither.
Buffalo, that's another story. We'll address that later.
Exactly.
Green Bay is beatable. If you play a little bit better than you did against Seattle, we should be able to beat Green Bay. Because Mooney Ward is back.
Yeah.
So I heard that on that thing. So he's back in the building. I would assume he's going to play Sunday. I don't know. That's all up in. It's only Monday. I mean, we'll get to that, but it's looking a lot more promising than it was after the loss Sunday night. That's all. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
you gotta look at it like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. When 2 weeks ago when they beat Dallas, I was looking at that as okay, this is a must win. You got to beat Dallas. And then you go to Tampa Bay and you say you got to beat them because they're just coming off. They really played well against Kansas City. I don't know if you had watched that game.
I was out of town, so I've only watched a little of it.
Okay, it was a good one.
I was out of town.
Yeah,
so I didn't. That was the only game I hardly watched all year.
Okay, yeah, they took them to overtime. So, and even on a short week for Tampa Bay, you knew that you had going to Tampa Bay in the heat. It was going to be tough. And again, first 3 quarters, different team. That last quarter, that last drive, some of those penalties, those stupid penalties.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know what the heck. And it's really funny. The youngest and the youngest player on that offensive line, Dominic Pooney, didn't have a penalty.
Nah,
he's
a stud.
That guy's like lights out. I mean, oh man, what a find!
Yeah, dude, diamond in the rough. Diamond in the rough.
It is phenomenal, man. I watched the one replay they showed it when Purdy rolled out, and I guess like they're talking about all the separation thing that we're not getting the separation like we did in the past few, and that's all analytical, whatever. But you can see this guy trying to rush. Pooney's just standing there, and this guy's like, he don't know what to do with this guy. I mean, this guy is just so big and so agile. He's just standing there, and the guy, it was just funny. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is phenomenal. He just stands there. He's just like, well, you ain't going anywhere, so don't try and run around me.
Yeah, he's a wall, man. Look, you know what? Their offensive line, I mean, I see a lot of people who, I get it. Like, they trash McKivitz, they trash Brendel. Yeah. I don't think they're a terrible offensive line at all. Could they use? Obviously, you're going to have to get yourself life after Trent Williams. Hate to think about it, but yeah, you're going to have to. Yeah. You're going to have to do it. But when they block well, I mean, for the majority of games, even giving up sacks, it's a little higher than I wish it would be this year. But it was at first 2 games of the season, it looked bad. But we've lowered that big time, thank God.
But you know what, though? I mean, you're right about Trent Williams. Maybe he's got another year, maybe 2. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's up to him.
Right.
But you know what? Next year's draft, I believe we should draft a defensive tackle somewhere.
Agreed.
Middle to left. You know, we got to get at least one tackle.
Agreed.
Because by getting all these old retreads and old players, I mean, it just makes our team slower. So we got to take a shot at a tackle. And I still believe, you know, we got to get a left tackle offense, a defensive tackle, and I would think find a wide receiver that's fast. A burner. They were talking about that, and I don't know whatever thing. I watched about 5 different things this morning, and I think it was KNBR was talking about it early. And they says, you know what, spread the field. Even if, I know, Jerry Rice mentioned some of it. Even if the guy doesn't catch it, you send a message that this guy's going, and you make him think.
Yeah, it's a good point. I can see that because they did draft, never turned out 2-3 years ago. That Danny Gray never turned out. You know, that didn't turn out too well. They had drafted that Danny Gray guy, didn't turn out well. But you're right when it comes to like you need a good burner. Another thing too, speaking of wide receivers, yesterday wasn't Metcalf so much. That Jackson, he was killing us in the middle of the season, in the middle of the field.
Yeah, they mentioned it too. He had 10. He had 11 targets and he had 10 catches. So I mean, single hand. You know what? We did miss Mooney Ward, and it's unfortunate for his daughter.
Yeah, that's a damn shame.
Prayers for their family. That's off the charts as far as personal stuff.
Exactly. Damn shame. Damn shame.
Yeah, but yeah, you definitely missed that guy. We got younger players. They didn't cover as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, but we could all overcome that, and we could have, but unfortunately we didn't. So there you go.
Yeah, I hate to lose on a 21-yard gallop. I was like, when you go back and watch, I mean, I know the coverage they were in, but at the same time, and they were tired. He could have run that in from 40 yards.
Oh yeah, there was nobody in the picture.
No one near him.
That was probably one of Geno Smith's easiest touchdowns in his career. And I mean, I don't dislike the guy. I think he, as much as they talk about Lamar Jackson, and you know what, I mean, they don't turn the world on fire for me. Lamar Jackson is not a clutch quarterback in the playoffs, and neither is Jalen Hurts. He went to the Super Bowl, and they lost.
Yeah.
So I mean, get over that. I mean, Brock Purdy's been there. Yeah, we lost, but we should have won that game.
Yeah.
I still say this is still my stance on that Super Bowl. You can say take McCaffrey's fumble, whatever you want, but I still say if Dre Greenlaw would have played the second half, we would have won that game. If he didn't blow out his Achilles, there's not Kelsey had no catches in the first half. Yeah,
exactly.
So
would have made a big difference.
So that's just my take on it. Anybody else could say what they want, but Dre Greenlaw getting hurt is a big deal when you got a tight end that they use as much as Kelsey. And Mahomes looks for that guy almost. I don't even think he's good at looking off because as good as he's an NFL quarterback. He's one of the top dogs. I don't care for him. Right. But he is what he is.
Exactly.
I mean, if you still had Dre Greenlaw and Fred together instead of they had that other linebacker that couldn't cover him as well.
Devondre Campbell.
He had, 8 or 10 catches after that in the second half.
Yeah.
So
Campbell
it opens it up.
Campbell's a better. He's a good open field tackler, but coverage is really just not his.
Yeah, Campbell's slow.
Yeah.
You see he's slow.
Yeah.
And he's older. I mean, I get it. I mean, but he tries, and he's still pretty good. When you're right about tackling. He gets his arms around you.
Yeah.
You ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's it. That's his strength.
Yeah, he's a lanky guy, and he's like an octopus. He's got the long arms. He can wrap. But I mean, coverage of trying to stay with a guy, no, that's not as maybe 5 years ago, but not now.
Yeah. It's a shame too, because you see another great part of Purdy's game taking place using his feet.
Oh yeah,
and
he's a good player.
Oh man,
he's a good player. I like him. I remember when they drafted him, and it's Mr. Irrelevant all. But I had to go get my wife at the train. She works in the city.
Okay.
So she stayed out, and I picked her up, and I picked up the Niners preseason. I think it was the second to the last game. And I see this Purdy kid. And I'm like, he's flinging it down, 25 yards down. There's I forget who he's thrown to. I don't remember who it was. But, man, he threw the ball. I'm like, who's this Purdy kid?
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope they don't cut him.
Yeah.
He stands in the pocket, and he fires the ball over the middle. I'm like, damn, this dude isn't bad. I'm like, who is he?
No.
I didn't know nothing about him. I mean, they drafted him, but I mean, I didn't know where he came from. That was really the first time I ever seen him, throw the ball.
Yeah.
And, next to the last.
It's just rendering for a second. It'll come back. Probably the Bluetooth or something. There you are. Yeah. No, I agree, man. He's a special find. In fact, I think he's taken a step in the right direction this year. I mean, he stays in there. There was a play yesterday. I think Leonard Williams had a beat on him, and he just does so well under pressure.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
Yeah, man, I love him.
Yeah, he threw that one ball. I think to separate. They've gone to that separation thing again. Maybe it was a split too late. I don't know.
Yeah, there were a couple. There were
that ball in the air. I mean, it's going to happen regardless. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't hurt me. All they got out of that, and they moved down the field. I go, here we go. But then they got a field goal out of it. They shut him down. So I'm like, you know what? I mean, it's going to happen. He's not going to be perfect. But to beat him up over that play, no.
No.
He stands in there, and when he's got that little, he seems like as he's getting a little older, he's got that clock ticking.
Yeah.
As soon as he just smells somebody coming, he takes off.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's another great element of his game. But you know what? Look, there's 7 games. It's a lot of season left.
Yeah,
7 games.
I'm not throwing in the towel yet. I was
No.
a little upset. But you know what? I'm gonna. What do they got? That live free or die or whatever. Oh yeah, that's New Hampshire.
Yeah.
That's their license plate.
Yep.
Well, I'm the same way with the Niners. Live free or die with them. You're gonna be a fan or don't be a fan.
Exactly.
I don't know. I got a little more enlightened with Jerry Rice talking, because he seems like we just got to change some things. We'll be all right. We got to. He seems, and he's, he hasn't played in a while. I mean, maybe sometimes, maybe he's still got a few stops. Throw him out there for a decoy.
He looks pretty good to me, man. He looks like to be in good shape with me. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
I bet she still is.
Yeah, but I can't understand. No, I just can't understand. I love the way Shanahan too. I think he in the press conferences again he answers the questions correct. Obviously, he takes full blame. He's upset. I mean, he can't with the defense. I know a lot of people are calling for Sorensen. Look, it's like it's his first season. But like you said, the defense. I agree with you. I thought they were going to make a trade for a defensive tackle with the trade deadline, especially with no Hargrave.
Yeah.
I
know. Yeah, you missed that guy.
Yeah, big time.
And then Gross Matos was hurt. And I don't know, did Malik Collins play yesterday? I don't remember.
Yeah, he was there. He played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the reason why he wasn't breaking for 7 and 8 yards, because he slows it down.
Yeah.
So even without him, if we can get Gross Matos back, I mean, can pick up a little bit going into Green Bay, and Collins is good. And then they were talking about maybe get Kevin Givens back.
He's having his best year.
He's hurt too. So if he can open his window to play even a little bit,
yeah.
We need, like I say, we need all hands on deck, man.
Yeah, man.
This is like a 411 alarm fire.
Yeah, and I don't know the weather in Green Bay right now, but I mean, I don't think we're at that point just yet where it's going to be, frozen tundra.
It's going to be like the one where what's his name tipped that ball.
Yeah.
And Ufanga took it in for the touchdown. And I don't even hear anything about him. Now we got these other young players. And they might even say they might not even re-sign him. So I don't know what's going on.
He's supposed to miss a.
That's not the problem we need. Problem we need is we got to be able to get a little bit of a pass rush, and they're going to run Jacobs.
Oh yeah,
it's a big workhorse, because he was like that with I keep calling him Oakland, Vegas.
Yeah.
Back with them, and he's still good. I mean, I'm not saying, but he's a load, man. I mean, we got to be able to tackle him. So, and can't let Jordan Love just sit back there and pick our secondary apart. But I don't think he will, because our secondary is a lot better, and I think they get better each week. Even though Adigbo was doing that, but they were using what's his name more as a decoy, and we didn't cover Adigbo like we should have.
Yeah.
And Metcalf got his few yards, but if Ward was there, they wouldn't have had to throw to Ndigma. And I think Mustafa, I'm not sure how the layout is where Digba lines up, if he's left or right. I'd have to look at the game, but yeah, that's what you would have to do.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be all right. Javarius Ward is helpful too. So I think if we could get, like I say, as many good pieces as we can going forward, I think we'll be all right.
I agree with you, man. I agree. It's another must-win game. Yeah. And you know what? Again, the most important thing is they're, for the most part, healthy. Hopefully, I hope Bosa can go.
I don't know. There's speculation that he's not. I guess Kyle was addressing the media earlier. He said he's day to day. So
yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to see come tomorrow or Wednesday.
Yeah.
See what happens.
And I'm sure Kittle will be back.
Yeah, but then Dave Lombardi said something important with that. He said that you got to be careful with Kittle with the hamstring.
Yeah. So,
you don't know how severe it is. And I think if Kittle is 85%, I think he'll play.
What's funny with him is you feel when he's not in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You feel it.
He's a good all-around player. He blocks downfield. He's good to block, even as a spare case of the blitz.
Yeah.
He'll stay in if Purdy switches or whatever, how that works. He'll stay in and block, and then you get somebody else. If they're rushing, somebody's got to be open.
Yeah.
So if they're bringing a boatload, more than 4 or 5, somebody's got to be open somewhere, and Purdy will find them. So it's just between him and Jennings, they seem to want it. They were almost won the game, late in the game themselves.
Yeah,
those two guys.
Jennings has had a monster year, boy.
Yeah, he's good. They're good. I'm glad they're on the Niners.
Yeah, man. There's too much talent. There's too much talent on this roster for them not to at least got to win that West Division.
Yeah.
Got to win that West Division.
Hey, you know what? I got to go do some stuff. I don't want to take up all your
Nah, never. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. You're a lot of
Oh, thank you, brother.
I like what you have to say, and if you let me throw in my 1.5 cents worth, then
No.
I've been a fan. I've been a fan since the early '70s.
Wow. Okay.
When John Brody was quarterbacking, I went to my first game. My dad took me at Soldiers Field, and Brody was hurt, so Steve Spurrier was quarterback.
Oh man, that's awesome.
That's what I mean. So I've been a fan since. Steve Spurrier wasn't half bad. He didn't play that long.
Right.
But I still remember that game. Todd Qualick was the tight end.
Oh my God, that's awesome! Wow. Was that during OJ's last run?
Oh no, it was a little bit before that. We had Willard still.
Okay, Ken Willard, sure.
Gene Washington was the wide receiver.
Gene was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. He had a touchdown. Qualick had a touchdown. He had 2. I got the program upstairs. I just found 1972.
Well, hold on to that. Hold on to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love that. I'll never forget that memory. It's kind of faded because I'm older.
No.
I was there.
You're young. Don't worry about it. You're young.
Yeah.
Age ain't shit. All right, my friend. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, man. Nice talking to you. Have a good night.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too, sir. All right. Oh, man. I love when people... that guy's great. He's great, man. Man, he got to see Ken Willard. He got to see Ted Qualick, Gene Washington, man. I mean, that's before my time, man. That must have been awesome, especially before Joe Montana, the great John Brody, to see where the organization was and what it became then years later, man. I mean, that's awesome. I love that. I love when people had the pleasure of seeing all these great players before me. That's where like my mind, my whole imagination opens up and wanders, man, because there's the evolution of this organization is so amazing, and going to the current day right now, look, like I said, it's my opinion. You can't. The firing Shanny thing is ridiculous. It's not Shanahan's fault at all. Shanahan is a great coach. In fact, if you were to fire him today, he'd be picked up tomorrow. And who else is going to come in? Who else is really going to come in and do that job? Let's face it. After the great Jim Harbaugh, I mean, you look at this organization for what they are. They've had how many great coaches, right? You had the great Bill Walsh. You had George Seifert, who was coached under Bill Walsh. Then, in my opinion, I thought Mariucci was an excellent coach. Then there was a lull. Okay, there was a lull. There was that period that we went through. So many different guys. Erickson, Singletary tried. I love Coach Mike. I thought Mike was, maybe with more time as a head coach, he could have done well. But I loved his spirit. I loved his fight. And then there was, the great Coach Harbaugh, who at that time I thought we made the mistake of getting rid of at the wrong time. There was that whole thing with him and ownership where he wanted more control, the 53-man roster, all that shit, whatever. And then from there, obviously we saw things going down. Those were the dark days, right? And even when we signed Coach Shanny, he coached us through the dark days all the way up. And look, you can say what you want about him. He never won. He choked in a big game. He made mistakes. He never won a Super Bowl. I get it. I understand. I get it. But the guy is an offensive-minded genius. For the most part, he has called a lot of gems this year. And to be fair, I don't think all those losses were his fault this year. Now, also to be fair, I think at times he's a little bit too conservative when we should be putting our foot on the other team's throat, as the great Jerry Rice had stated today in his post, and he was on a podcast and he said it, and I agree with him 100%. We've got 7 games left. We have the ability, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to be like over whatever, you can at least win. You can win. Imagine if you go on a run, you run off 7 of those bad boys. You win on 7, I know. People are probably going to say, yeah, you're full of shit. 12-5. What if you go 11-6? Let's just go week by week. Every game is winnable. Every one of these games is winnable. And these are mistakes that I don't think are going to take a whole year off or take the firing of a very good coach or the firing of a defensive coordinator that are going to fix it. Now, on to Coach Sorensen. I see a lot of posts about people trying to say he needs to go. Look, was he better than Coach Wilkes? It's a little hard to say because, to be fair, there were a lot of different components in there last year that weren't there this year. Well, not many, but a healthier Greenlaw. You had Armstead. There's been a lot of interchangeable parts in the last couple of years. I'll say that in terms of the defensive team, but I don't think it's all Sorensen. There are times this year I've been, but aside than that, let's talk about man for man. Let's talk about talent. Let's talk about roster. Without Javon Hargrave, everything falls on Nick Bosa. Without Nick Bosa, question is, what's going on? I mean, you just got Gross Matos back yesterday. He wasn't supposed to be the savior, but he was supposed to be a solid piece of manpower. Leonard Floyd has played a lot better in the last couple of games. There were games where I didn't really hear much about him. Kevin Givens is having his best season. Malik Collins has been good. This kid Elliott, who we signed from Cleveland, I thought has been pretty damn good. But here's the problem. We don't have enough sacks. If you go and look at the stats, go look at team stats. I went and broke down some team stats tonight in my free time, and I'm noticing that I think we have, I forgot how many, whatever number it is, I'd be saying the wrong one, it wouldn't be correct, but we need to generate more sacks per game, for sure. Now, yesterday, we had Geno Smith, wrapped him up a couple times, but it wasn't enough. We have to be generating more sacks. Now, I'm wondering if it has to do with, losing a lot of guys that we shouldn't have lost in the offseason. I thought, like I just said, I was hoping that Lynch would have made a move for another defensive tackle. I know we did get Davis from Houston, but I would have, and it's no disrespect to Davis, but I was hoping I thought we were going to get like maybe a Jeffrey Simmons. Maybe the terms were just not going to happen. We'd have had to give up too much, what have you, because there were defensive tackles out there, I believe, that are up for fire sale. But a lot of, look, this was a terrible trade deadline, whatever the case may be. Or maybe Lynch liked what he had, okay? It's also Sorensen's first year, but again, to be objective and be fair, Sorensen was with us last year, so he should know the outline of this defense, right? So he doesn't get a pass there. But to be fair, again, go and look at the stats. And again, analytics are just analytics. They don't mean everything sometimes. When you go and look at the analytics, our defense is ranked pretty damn high with the rest of the league, especially giving up passing yards. Interceptions, I think we have 12 as a team. So I can't blame him. I think yesterday was a case of the defense was gassed, obviously, right? Arizona Unite 49, CMC doesn't look ready to be a big part of the offense like last year. That's a very good point that you make, Arizona Unite 49. Here's what I was just saying before, and I'll say this again. I'm pro Shanny, but at the same time, I'm objective. I don't know why Coach Shanahan doesn't use Jordan Mason more. Isaac Ariendo has not touched the ball in almost, 2 weeks? Why are we not throwing the ball more to Jusic? I sound like a broken record. Anyone who's been following me or who watches this podcast knows, probably telling me to shut the fuck up with that throw to Juice shit already, because that's all I talk about. But I'll be damned if they still fucking don't do it. I don't get it, especially when you don't have Kittle. And I'll say this much. Eric Sauber, haven't seen much of him this year, but, I don't know. Didn't throw to him at all yesterday. He didn't look like much of a part of the offense. And again, obviously not having Kittle is a huge part. You're missing a blocker. You're missing the best tight end in football. We feel it when he's not there. Arizona Unite 49 says Kyle Shanahan has become predictable on play call. Okay, that's a good point you make. While I don't agree with you 100%, I will say this in agreements with you. There are plays that at times I'm like, I don't get. There was a play yesterday. I don't remember the sequence, but again, it was that the usual the the usual run they do for Debo, and at that point, I sometimes I don't understand why we're not going ahead. I feel like when we get momentum, we're going side to side. Forget that. Let's go down the damn field. When there was a run yesterday, and again, I try not to make this all about. Yes, thank you, the Debo run, and I don't blame Debo. I think that defenses have just started to key that shit. In fact, how many offenses have fucking copied us in that shit? I could tell you so much here on the East Coast. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of East Coast games, but I'm watching games. I'm like, motherfucker, that's Debo's play. You know what I'm saying? I see it so many more times now. It's amazing. But again, defenses get smart. They know. They watch their film. They're not stupid. They know us well. You know. But another thing, too, is that there was a run yesterday where we were really in sync. I love that second drive that we had. It was decent chunks of offensive yards being gulped up. Run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. When we don't do that, there's obviously something off, man. CBM Stevens sent a request to be in here. Gonna go live with him. I love when people are cool enough to get on and go live. It's always a good thing, man, because it's always good to hear someone else's opinion other than myself, and knowing they're Niner fans, so we all have something in common. But yeah, man, I'd like to see a lot more. I'd like to see a lot more guys used. Again, I think Juszczyk is just too good to be utilized as just a blocker, especially when you don't have Kittle, man. It only makes more sense. Like I said, when the guy was in Baltimore, the guy was used so much more offensively. Now, maybe, of course, the circumstances were different, but talent is talent, man. Like I said, Juice could be used so much more, could be so much more valuable. I'd like to see a lot more play action. Purdy rolling out, dumping to Juice, him coming out from that blocking position and shitting outward, like CBM Stevens is unable to join. Maybe it's just a glitch. Let's see. Like I said, there's no reason why we can't be. Look, Shanahan isn't perfect. There's no reason why he can't open things up a little more. I feel sometimes, too, that once the game gets into a certain situation, he kind of boxes himself into this very tight thing. He'll kind of call a certain amount of plays nothing out of the ordinary. I don't understand why we don't just line up and pound the rock. Dude, I agree with you. Arizona Unite 49, you're 100% right. That's what I've been screaming at the TV for the last couple of weeks. After you run the ball, do it again and do it again and do it again. That offensive line, I find, when they're moving forward, especially Cooney and Aaron Banks, who are like two fucking wrecking balls when they're moving forward, ain't nobody in this league stopping you when you run that ball. There's nobody in this league stopping you. I guess this gentleman can't join. Maybe it's a glitch. I don't know. We'll try again. Keep running the ball. Keep running the ball. How many teams are we seeing this year that are just pounding the ball up people's asses? Go look at the Detroit Lions. I know you got Montgomery and Gibbs, and you got probably the best offensive line in football, but you don't need the best offensive line and two guys like that to pound the ball. We've got, in terms of depth as a roster running the ball, a hell of a great running game. Fuck, give it more to Juszczyk too. I want to see these things done. Take some of the stress off. I thought CMC went too long yesterday. I was surprised he had that many carries. I'm always like, oh fuck, the tendonitis, the Achillesitis, whatever. That's what I'm always worried about. And when Mason came in the game, I was like, oh, it's about time. And again, as we were saying before, he still is 11th now in rushing stats. There's no reason why he can't get 1,000 yards. He's less than 300 yards away. I mean, he's earned it to be part of the offense. So has Giriendo. When you have 4 different guys running the ball, and you're able to generate 3, 4, and 5 yards per, you are deadly. Plus, Purdy is second in rushing on the 49ers. What does that tell you? There's another element to his game that's been elevated. So again, I don't understand why we aren't doing these things. But again, this is why I'm not a head coach, right? Again, this is the part of the critique I have on Shanny. Like, why aren't you using these guys more? Why aren't you giving CMC, some rest? And again, I'm not trying to compare him to a lot of teams because we're not a lot of teams, but a lot of teams do this. If you watch the Bears, they use Rashawn Johnson, a couple different bunch of backs, right, with their scrambling quarterback. Now that's the Bears, right? We said the Lions. The Eagles do it too, man, with Gainwell, with Barkley, right? They do it. There's so many others. I think what happens sometimes is you get into that tunnel vision type thing where one thing is working, you keep going. Look, I could speculate this all day long, but again, that's why I think Shanahan is great, because we know now that we have 3 solid. Exactly, Arizona Unite, 100%. 4 if you consider Jusek. 4. I again, these are things I think are not hard to fix. And I think obviously Shanahan is one of the best coaches in football. He's in the top 10 for me, at least. That's just my thing. 2 years ago I was like this with him. I was starting to get, okay, so where are we going with this? I'll be frank too. When we drafted Trey Lance, I was critical of him and I was critical of John Lynch. I didn't get it. Like, what am I not seeing that you're not seeing? What's going on here? But to be fair, they did the right thing. They knew he wasn't the answer. They traded him. They went with Purdy, right? Okay, fine. That's where we as fans objectively can say, you know what? Mistake made good. Mistake made good. We hate that Kyle doesn't take the risk when we need it, like that 4th and 1 to start the game. Got to agree with you there too. I got to agree with you there too, man. That's a good point. I was surprised by that first drive yesterday. That's another thing. There's been times this year with that first drive we've gone pass. I don't understand that. We're a run first team. If I'm a defense, if I'm a defensive coordinator playing against the 49ers, how am I preparing for this team? I'm looking at our offensive line: Pooney, Banks, Trent Williams, Colt McKivitz, Brendel, McCaffrey, Juice. I'm saying we got to stop the run. They're going to come pounding our ass all day long. We got to stop that run, And at the same time, when you go off that and you're rolling to pass, that's just I just don't feel it's flowing. Our offense has to flow and has the ability and talent to flow through so many different players. That's the good part. You've got Debo, you've got Kittle when he's helped, when he obviously when he's there. He didn't play yesterday. You've got another weapon in Juwan Jennings. No Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall. I didn't see Ricky Pearsall at all. Did anyone see Ricky Pearsall on the field yesterday? Maybe I'm missing something, but wasn't even a factor. I don't know why. I don't understand that, because I was so excited to see him in the game. Okay, no, thank you. I appreciate that. So it's not just me. His size, his ability, again, what do I know? I'm just a nut fan who's hasn't missed a game in forever. But look, bottom line is you're 5-5 in a division where your top team is 6-4. The Rams won yesterday, right? Seattle, us and the Rams are all 5-5. 7 games to go. A lot of people saying your window's closed, the window's closing. Coach Belichick said something today. They had asked him about the 49ers, and he said how their best football, or what they'll be, is still yet to come. And that's the way I feel about this. These problems can be fixed in these next 7 weeks. Now, whatever those 7 weeks are, that's who we're playing. We know it's Green Bay. We know it's Buffalo, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Lions. We know what it's going to be. But we've had one game this season where it wasn't even semi-close. We lose 28-18 to the Kansas City Chiefs, and before we scored that last touchdown, it was what it was. But that's the one game. Other than that, we've been in every game. They've been close. There's no reason why this team, talent-wise, cannot fix these things in 7 weeks. It is not like there is something going on there that we don't know. It is not like that. And Coach Shanny knows that better than anyone. I mean, this is, maybe the roster has turned over a little bit, but not that much. Does having Dre Greenlaw mean a whole bit more? Yes, it does. Does having CMC matter a whole lot more? Yes, it does. But like the gentleman just said on this live feed, he doesn't look like he's 100% yet, and he's probably not. It's going to take him a couple of weeks. But that's why you got Jordan Mason. That's why you have Isaac Garriendo, and that's why you have Kyle Juszczyk. Our schedule is going to be tough if we don't get it together because we're going to be playing playoff teams in remaining games. 100% Arizona 40, Unite 49, and we got to go to Buffalo to do so in 2 weeks, right? So it doesn't get any easier. Every week, every game is hard. That's just the way it is in this league. That's how talented people are. You're seeing it this year, right? You're seeing it. 1 week Carolina can't win the game. They've won 2 in a row. Atlanta, even I was like shocked. Like, damn, they're legit. They don't look so legit the last 2 weeks. Denver has turned things around. The Jets, who were Leonardo DiCaprio at the beginning of the season. I hate to say this, but they've become the fucking Titanic. Now they're floating in the water with Rose doing the whole circle shit. You know what I mean? So it goes to show you that everything is kind of up in the air. Look, even the Lions 2 weeks ago, right? The Lions 2 weeks ago, fucking, what's his name, threw 5 interceptions last Sunday night against the Texans. They shouldn't have won that game. They're beatable too, as good as they are. They worry me, but they're a beatable team. I don't know what the one team I will say that I think is really surging. It's not even the Chiefs. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they're playing the type of football that they've been playing for 1,000 years, and it took them to get Arthur Smith, a great offensive-minded guy, to do the Steeler thing. Run the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball. Defense wins games. That's similar to what we've done in the last couple of years, although with the emergence of Purdy and the talent we have at wide receiver, there's no reason why we shouldn't be, throwing the ball more than the Steelers or running a lot more play action, right? That was another thing yesterday, too. I thought that the Seattle defense kind of picked up on that play action. They were sending Boya Mafe. They were sending Leonard Williams. So the difference is they have a coach that pre-in-game adjustments. Good point, Callie. I could kind of get on board with you. Not 100%, but 50%. There are times I feel like, yeah, you're right. Like, again, I thought that last drive yesterday where we gave the ball back to them, that was the opportunity to throw the knockout punch. That was the opportunity to do it, and we didn't do it. We had the same thing against the Rams and the same thing against Cardinals. We almost had the same thing against the fucking Cowboys 2 weeks ago, right, with the collision. And then, in garbage time, them catching up. So, but let's talk about something else, too, is that there's been stupid penalties by us that have nothing to do with Shanahan nor Coach Sorensen. And while some of them aren't the best calls in the world, they are what they are. I thought some of them were bullshit yesterday. The holding on McKivitz, I thought, was kind of ticky-tacky bullshit. Like, give me a break. If you're not in that angle, you're not making that call. Missing speed on offense. Now, it's funny you say that, Callie. We were just talking about that, about a speedy receiver. Look, speedy receiver, we drafted Danny Gray 2 years ago. It didn't work out, right? Jacob Cowing really hasn't been used. Ronnie Bell, no disrespect. Anyway, do we really have a guy who's 4.3, 4.4 fast? I don't think so, right? We don't have that. So that's maybe part of the game that is missing, that we have to look into. But to be fair, I think that even despite not having that, there's things we could be doing that we can really capitalize on. On Kyle, once you are a friend of Shanahan, that is McKivitz's liability. Okay, so speaking of McKivitz, it's funny, I was thinking about him today. I don't dislike McKivitz. I like him. Do I think he's the best tackle in football? No. Do I think he's stable? Yeah, I think at times he is. But if you're going to, measure between him and McGlinchey, I think it's kind of here. Now, maybe that's not saying much because McGlinchey was a number 1 pick and was supposed to be this guy. Wasn't really the case. But I could see that. I know in the future you're going to have to get another tackle no matter what. That's obviously going to be a key. Whether it's for the left or the right side, you're going to have to get another tackle, right? Because obviously Trent Williams cannot play forever, unfortunately. But other than that, I can't blame the offensive line. Now, the first couple of games, as I said before, we gave up a lot of sacks, which was concerning. But that has been stabilized. Pooney is a beast. He's a diamond in the rough. I love Aaron Banks. Even Brendel. I don't think Brendel is terrible. I think Brendel is a cerebral player. I just feel that when we're in sync running the ball and doing really well, that run sets up a lot of more positivity. It feels that too, like we almost get to a point where we're winning. We kind of feel like we're going to win the game, and then we kind of sit on the lead. If you know the phrase, you don't stab them in the jugular and cut off their head. That's something we're not doing. Where teams like Detroit is doing that every fucking week. They're not just cutting off your head; they're cutting off your head, putting their hand up your ass and stealing your soul. They've done that the last 2 weeks. They ain't taking prisoners, so they're on a mission. Why is Mason riding on Pine, but the guy with 2 bad Achilles has more? And Callie, we were just talking about that, man, and agree with you 100%. I don't know why Mason wasn't more part of that offense yesterday, especially being that Mason has a little bit, in my opinion, he's a little bit more flexible when you can bounce him outside. He's got that like good left to right movement. I don't see any tear on CMC. But again, I was shocked to see him get as many carries as he did yesterday. 2 weeks ago against Tampa Bay, what do you have? 13 carries, 39 yards. He did have a couple of catches out of the backfield. And I was worried, too, because it was hot. He's going to get overheated, dehydrated. Look, I'm objective. I'm pro Shanahan, but I'm objective. You got to use Mason and Gary Endo more, man. At least we got to see a little bit more out of them. I think each guy is a different running back. In fact, I think Gary Endo is more of a crash into you, digging speed. If you want a speed guy, there's Gary Endo. What was his 40 time in the draft or the combine? Go up and look. It's pretty damn good. You've seen him run open field, right, against the Seahawks in the first game. So, I'd like to see some stuff to him. Little dumps to him. Little dump outs to the running backs. I don't know, guys. Like I said, 7 games to go. The fire Shanahan thing, no way. Sorensen, right now, I would say I don't think we should fire Sorensen just this minute. We still got you got to give it a little more time. Once we get Greenlaw back, and everything is solidified, let's see. Because let's face it, as we were talking about before, unfortunately, we didn't have Shavarius this week. 8 seasons, same problems, and I have one common fact. Hey, look, man, Callie, you're entitled to your opinion, man. I respect it. Everyone's got a different opinion. Him, I get it. And again, this is a franchise that needs to win now. We haven't won since 95. 94, 95. So I get it. And we've been to the dance 3 times, 0 for 3. Against Baltimore and 2 against Kansas City. So, and again, the window was closing, man. I don't know how many more years we've got of this. This roster is obviously going to start to change with age, with injury, with free agency, salary cap, all that stuff. You're going to have to pay Purdy this year. So things change, man. But to be fair, lot of season left. Another winnable game up in Green Bay. This team, I feel, has the heart to do it. It's just a matter of, do you have the heart to finish it? And that's been the question all year long. Because even today, listening to football radio, I'm listening to NFL radio Fox, that idiot Mad Dog, whoever, all those fucking... Some, no disrespect, but some of them are just so fucking annoying. I can't listen to them. But I was just all over the place trying to hear anyone going to talk about the 49ers. And finally, I got some, people who are breaking it down. They all say the same thing. There's something going on there. I don't know what it is. What is it? Why are you not the same? Why are you not closing out games? But again, 7 weeks to go. Time to fix it. The team has heart, but we don't have the coach to bring us home. Again, I'm going to disagree, but I respect your opinion. I think there are things he can be calling to solidify them more for sure, yeah. Because the talent is there on the roster, but I think there are things that we could be calling to be a little bit more dangerous, man. To be a little bit more non-script. To be a little bit more let's stomp on people. You know? That's what I'd love to see this week against Green Bay. Just run that ball down their throat until they can't stop you anymore. Let that run set up that pass all day long. Don't go in there trying to throw the ball left and right against them. Don't do that. You know, another thing is, too, like we always say, we win games when we run the ball well and we shut down the other team's running game. Once again, yesterday, we held Seattle's running game. They didn't do shit against us, against that defensive front. It wasn't until that last drive where the defense was gassed, you have to imagine. There's no Bosa, right? And Geno takes off on a 21-yard scamper. Ain't no one near him. The invisible man wasn't near him. That's what was concerning. Like, how is he that free to run? So I'm going to chalk it up to they were gassed. They were on the field too much. Maybe it's that. Because, again, that first half, we were monopolizing the clock. Here's another thing. We are not putting enough points on the board. Going into this season, I remember Purdy saying something about the one thing he wanted to work on was not getting 3, getting 6. Not getting 3, getting 6. We're having trouble with that. That is the issue. If the script is not perfect, Kyle can adjust, and that's what separates a coach from mediocrity or greatness. Yeah, but to be fair, look, and you're not 100% wrong about that. As a coach, he has gotten us to the Super Bowl twice, right? Now, didn't win, so it does. I mean, it matters, but like getting there is great, but you got to win. Especially as years go by and rosters change. You know, this year, we were supposed to run things back. Now, I don't know. Either this year is going to end the way it was 2 years ago, right? Kyle plays for conservativeness and field goal. I have to agree with you to some extent there. Yeah, that's an area I'm not big on. It's a little too conservative at times. And obviously, I mean, look, yesterday we held them on that 3rd and 2 and then the 4th and 1, right? We held them. You know, I think the defense for the most part did their job and then some. The interception isn't, you know, it happened. Hankerson made a good play, made a tip pass, caught it. You know, what are you going to do? A lot of Purdy's interceptions this year, the 8 of them, I think maybe 5 of them have been off of tip passes. It is what it is. But we did enough defensively to beat them yesterday. We picked him, we sacked him, we stopped them, we shut down their running game, but you don't fucking win. It's fucking infuriating. It's infuriating. I know it's infuriating for me, and I know it can only be just the same way for you guys. It's fucking infuriating. That's the bottom line. Speaking of roster, Kyle does not want iron that sharpens iron. He wants capo buddies. Well, you know, look, like I said, I think these losses have been infuriating. Just, I was doing this yesterday, just sitting there, just watching, waiting. And that last drive, obviously that defense looked gassed. And I want to think, you know, I can understand that. But that's why I bring it back to maybe had we would have done something on our last drive to ice it, it would have been it. But it didn't happen, so it doesn't really matter. We got slow and old real fast. I don't think we got old. I mean, if you look at the roster, I think that they're still pretty young. The one area I will say that I think has been a little bit concerning, obviously, has been opposite Fred Warner. Devondre Campbell, while a very good open field tackler, is not a great coverage man. I thought we'd see more of D Winners. He comes in special packages. Guy looks like a bowling ball. Sort of has that Dre Greenlaw mentality, but not really just yet. I mean, Dre Greenlaw is Dre Greenlaw. We're definitely missing him, that's for sure. We're definitely missing Javon Hargrave in the middle, although hats off to Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott. But Hargrave had the great ability to be a two-style guy. Get after the quarterback with a sack and shut down the run. Look, you know what? At the end, I can't put my finger on this shit. And that's what's frustrated the shit out of me all goddamn day. He won't make adjustments and won't play rookies. Anderson and Davis need to play. I can't disagree with you there, man. Here's another question. Where the fuck is Robert Beal? Does anyone know where Robert Beal is? I thought Robert Beal was supposed to be this like guy who was going to be a stud once he had a year under his belt and came into his own. I haven't seen. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. And it's just ultra frustrating, man. I don't think anyone has the one answer, really. Penalties don't help. When we have stupid penalties, what were we on the 30 yesterday, and then all of a sudden we got pushed back to the 50, right? I mean, that comes back to that down to bare basics. When you don't make stupid penalties, you most likely win games. So, look, let's see what happens this week. Hopefully we get Bosa back. Hopefully we get Kittle back. And hopefully, you know, what would it take for you to want Kyle fired, man? I think Shanny's a great coach. That's just me. Is he perfect? Of course not. I agree with you with certain aspects. There are things that could be more. I sit there screaming at the TV just like I'm sure you do, Callie, saying all the time, where the fuck is Jordan Mason? When Mason came in yesterday, my exact words to my father while I was watching the game with my best buddy on earth was, it's about fucking time. And he must get tired of me saying, where's Gary Endo? How come he don't throw the ball to Jusek? He's a Jet fan. And he watches the four. I mean, he roots for the Niners too, but he goes, how come they never throw to Jusek? I'm like, I don't know. That's been my question for 4 years. Look, no coach is perfect, man. You know, no coach is perfect. But I think as a play caller sometimes, when he's on a roll, he's really good. I just think it's a matter of, like I said, sticking the stake in the dinosaur, in the vampire's heart. That's what I think it's a case of. But look, like I said, more importantly, 7 games to go. This season will end. And at that point, we'll be able to go back and look at things because hindsight is 20/20. That's the way it always is. Do you think we lost championship games because they had the better team or they had the better coach? Good question. Championship games in terms of the Super Bowl. Well, let's look at quickly last year's Super Bowl, right? What is the first rule of anything against the Kansas City Chiefs tell you, or against any great team? Never turn the ball over against them. McCaffrey fumbles that ball. I'm not putting the blame on him, but on that first drive, if we go down the field and stick it right up their ass and score 6, that's a different game. Momentum has been changed and is different. 4 years ago, when we lost to them, the second half was a totally different game, right? There were plays called there that I thought could have been better. Do I put that all on Shanahan? No, because as I remember it, Tyreek Hill broke our back in that second half, as did Mahomes. Last year, we were winning that game a good majority of the time. You know, Moody misses, right? We go down the field and you kick the field goal and you give Kansas City back. Could that be on Shanahan? Yeah, that could be. There's something to that. I hate to say this. I see the logic in it. Because then you put it on your defense to stop their offense. Only problem is it's Patrick fucking Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs who are like Mike Tyson used to be, right, in his heyday. Just a side note, if anybody watched that pile of shit this weekend, that fight, I want the hour back of my life that I wasted watching that. What the holy fuck? That's all I'm going to say. Remember the first Super Bowl? How did Mostert get benched for Coleman? Yeah, yeah, I see your point with that one. Mostert was having a season that was just out of this world. I mean, his yards per carry were ridiculous, right? It was like he was breaking runs left and right, you know. But again, to be fair, uh, that's a great team we were playing, and that was a loaded team with Tyreek Hill. Last year, I kind of lean on the fact more that we could have beaten them and should have beaten them. Kyle's coaching philosophy, shaking my head. No, you're entitled to your opinion. I get it, man. I get it, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way you do. I get it, man. I just don't think firing him is the answer at all. I really don't. Um, because I don't think there's who else is out there to coach this team that wouldn't have to come in here and totally rebuild everything. Because every coach usually has their own thing going on, right? Who God knows. I think he's built a great rapport with Purdy. I think he's got a great rapport and a good feel for the flow of the offense. Ben Johnson. I don't know. I don't blame you or fault you for your opinion. I just think that with coaches a lot. Look, I said the same thing about Coach Saleh when he went to New York. I said Coach Saleh is going to be great. He's going to be great. So I think it's always a thing of you have to actually wait and see rather than speculate. There's just so many moving pieces that go into coaching in terms of the rosters and the movement and the salary cap and all this shit and who's their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. It just takes a while. I mean, we're seeing that now more than anywhere in the NFL, right? You're seeing it with the New York Jets. You're seeing it with the New York Giants. Both coaches need to go. I love Jeff Olberg. It's not Jeff Olberg's fault. Jeff Olberg got himself in a terrible position. He's a great defensive coordinator. That's what I think. But you're seeing it with a lot of different coaches, right? This team reminds me of a Golden State when Steve Kerr took over and Kyle is Mark Jackson. Okay. When Steve Kerr took over and Kyle, I see your point, but Mark Jackson did a good job of building up that team. That's something I don't think he gets enough recognition for. Plus, I know what you mean though in terms of coaching wise, and not so much everything else. I understand where you're coming from with that. I just feel that we've seen them blow people out before. There's a reason why he did not get them over the hump. He didn't get them over the hump. He did get fired, though, to be fair, Mark Jackson. And he got fired for silly, stupid reasons that had nothing to do with basketball. But you're right in terms of everything under an umbrella as a whole. Yeah, you are. My thing is, I just feel, again, like these are mistakes that can be fixed. It's not like it's not like you're missing. If we didn't have Purdy all year and we were losing games, you'd say, well, there is no Purdy. If you didn't have Kittle all year, it's like the year after the first Super Bowl with Kansas City. We lost Bosa, we lost Kittle, we lost Debo, we lost Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Nick Mullins was the quarterback, so we were going through all the injuries. Injury bug happened to us, and now it's gone. It took Javon Hargrave, it took Dre Greenlaw, it took Talanoa Hufnagel, which, it does matter, man. It does matter. But again, I don't think it's that. I really don't think it's that. Look, there's 7 weeks for them to figure it out. That's the end all be all. It's 7 weeks for them to figure it out. I'm curious to know what they're going to say. If you watch the post-game interviews, everyone's saying it. I mean, Fred Warner says that he still believes there's enough talent on that team to get the job done. Bosa says something similar. Too stubborn to fix it. Kyle has too much ego. Look, like I said, you're entitled, and I respect your opinion, man. But there's 7 weeks to go. 7 weeks to see what can change, if anything can change, right? 12-5 is great. 11-6 is nice. 10-7, I don't think is going to do it. But with this division, you never know. Let's worry about Green Bay first, right? That's what we should be concentrating on, and let's see what else happens this week with all this. So it'll be interesting to see. But I stand with can't fire Shanahan, man. It's not the thing. I don't even think you can get rid of Sorensen just yet. I don't think it's him either. Let's see how the season ends, and hope it doesn't end prematurely. But much love and respect to all you guys for your opinion. Callie, always great talking to you, bro. I love it. I love the back and forth. I think it's great. I think it's just, shows why we're fans, man. We shall see, everybody. Let's see what comes out this week, and hopefully our injuries get fixed quick. And, it'd be great to have Shavarius Ward back. We miss him, man. But thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Obviously, what happened to him is 10 times worse than losing a football game, 20 times worse. I mean, you see those videos of his cute little daughter. Fucking shame, man. Fucking shame. I give him a lot of credit and respect for everything. Beautiful little girl, right? Such a tragedy that she died. Speaking of corners, I will say this. One guy, and then I'll get out of you guys' hair. One guy who has been a straight up fucking demon dog all year has been, and they paid him finally. Diamador, who I feel is one of the best corners in football. I've been saying it every week to people. I don't hear his name enough on the highlights. I don't hear his name enough during the season. That guy's a dog, man. I love him. I love him. I wish I had 12 of him. The way he plays, he's fucking fearless. I can see why he calls himself the hyena. He just gets in people's... That fight they had yesterday was a trip, man. I mean, I thought that was going to get worse. I didn't understand the offset call. I thought it really was one way. I mean, he didn't start that fight, but that's a whole other thing. But I'll be coming back at you again later on this week. I'll break down that Seattle game. Definitely. Please feel free to always try and join in. I'm sorry I couldn't get someone else tried to join in. I guess there was a glitch. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching, going back and forth with me. I appreciate it. Always feel free to message me. Subscribe to the channel if you can. Much love and peace. Later.